Hellboy. A demon summoned by Nazis during the Second World War, who's then saved by a British professor and turned into the world's leading paranormal detective. Yeah, Hellboy's a pretty out there concept. Even so, there have been a couple of adaptations that have come out over the years, but all of them have kind of missed the point of what makes Hellboy so special. Guillermo del Toro probably came closest with his 2 adaptations, but he changed a lot of the source material to try and make it fit into the world that he was creating, and the less we say about the 2019 reboot, the better. That being said, Millennium has decided to give the character a 3rd attempt, with a reboot that was announced as of February 2023. Hellboy, the Crooked Man. The film has already started production. I know, that was quick. And Mike Mignola himself, along with his longtime collaborator Christopher Golden, who's a novelist and has contributed heavily to the Hellboy mythos over the years, are writing the script. Millennium are hoping that by letting the original creator and his longtime collaborator do their thing, they will be able to crack that beautiful Hellboy formula. And really get to the bottom of what makes Hellboy so great. The person to bring this vision to life is none other than Brian Taylor, the showrunner for Happy, which I have to say is one of my favourite shows. It's great, and a really good adaptation of a really weird comic. So we're off to a great start. Brian Taylor has even gone on record as being a fan of the character, and more specifically Richard Corbin, the man who drew the original short story that this is going to be based on. Rest in peace, Richard, we miss you. The story in question being Hellboy, the Crooked Man. Ooh. I know, shocking, right? The Crooked Man is an Eisner Award-winning entry into the Hellboy mythos, and is celebrated for being very twisted and very, very spooky. The story follows Hellboy as he gets lost in the forests of Appalachia and finds himself in a village that's being overrun by a coven of witches and a particularly disturbing devil. Some crazy happenings go down as Hellboy helps a man named Tom Ferrell right the wrongs of his youth and hopefully get rid of this horrible creature. Mr. Taylor has even confirmed that the film is going to be R-rated, as to respect the source material as much as possible. As for the characters, the casting is actually already well underway. The man who is going to be stepping into the cloven hooves this time around is none other than Jack Kesy. Jack Kesy is best known for his work on The Strain, which is actually a Guillermo del Toro production, which is quite fun. And he was also on the heavy prosthetics for that project, so he already knows what it's like to have to don a proper costume. Next up we have Tom Ferrell, who's going to be portrayed by Jefferson White, who's best known for his role in Yellowstone. And finally, we have a brand new character, portrayed by Adeline Rudolph, who's going to be called Bobby Jo Song. She's a rookie BPRD agent who's accompanying Hellboy on this horrible mission. So, all good, right? Well, I think now it's probably time that I address the elephant in the room. Or elephants, that is. First up, our Lord and Saviour Guillermo del Toro. He never got to finish his trilogy, and unfortunately fans have been waiting since 2008 for it to happen. But unfortunately, the chances of that happening are pretty much non-existent at this point. Ron Perlman, the actor who very famously portrayed Hellboy the first time around, is now 72 years old, meaning that everything that he'd have to do from stunts to getting into costume would just be a monumental task. Next up, Selma Blair, who is famous for playing Liz, has very unfortunately contracted MS, which is a degenerative muscle disease, which means that everything to do with filming a movie is just going to be so challenging. I hope you're okay, Selma. I am sending you so much love and all the strength that I can muster. To put the cherry on top, Guillermo del Toro has made it pretty clear that he's moved on from the project. Going from strength to strength with his original works such as The Shape of Water, Nightmare Alley and the stop-motion Pinocchio movie, His next projects are already lined up, that being an adaptation of Frankenstein's monster and a potential adaptation of Lovecraft's The Mountains of Madness. So all of this to say that that ship has pretty much sailed, got to the edge of the world, fallen off, onto the Ogdru Jahad, broken their prison, sending the entire world into a weird apocalypse of monkey lizard people. Yeah, again, Hellboy is a pretty out there concept. Which leads me to the other elephant in the room. The 2019 reboot was a disaster. I think we all know that by now. So much so that we actually thought that it had killed any chance of us getting a Hellboy adaptation for at least another decade. I could make an hour-long video about why that film is such a disaster, but I don't want to give myself an aneurysm. It has its fans. I am very happy that they have something that they enjoy, and I think we can all universally agree that David Harbour was a perfect choice for Hellboy after Ron Perlman, but unfortunately it just had a serious lack of vision and fell apart during production. So it's understandable that a lot of the fan base are going to be very sceptical about yet another adaptation of Hellboy. And rightly so. I'm also trying to keep my expectations in check as to not get burned. Again. But I have to say, everything coming out about the movie points towards this having some serious potential. And the fact that they're even trying again at all is a genuine miracle. So it's more of a let's wait and see situation. So, what are my personal thoughts about all this? My perfect scenario would have been an animated adaptation by the guys who did Invincible, preferably. But I have to say, a low-budget, dark, R-rated horror adaptation of The Crooked Man does sound really cool. So, you know, there will always be time to be able to do a series and really do Hellboy's Odyssey justice. But for now, the fact that they're bringing down the scale and they're doing something a little bit more intimate, thumbs up. What about Hellboy himself, Jack Kesy? Now, I haven't seen anything that Jack Kesy has done. That's not a dig towards the actor. I'm sure that the roles that he's played are fantastic, but I'm actually going to keep it that way because I don't want any expectations going into the film. I just want to get there and he will be Hellboy. There will not be anything to sway my opinion or for me to be able to make up my own version of what it is that he can do. He will just be the portrayal that it is, and that'll be that. So, no expectations. And I really enjoyed that. I have to say I like that they've gone for someone who isn't as big a name as, say, David Harbour. I guess all I really want from this is for them to understand what makes Hellboy so great. It's not a superhero comic. Hellboy isn't a superhero. It's so far removed from that kind of DC Marvel vision of a comic book, and I'm really hoping that they're going to be able to adapt that. Hellboy's more of a blue-collar plumber for the paranormal, who also happens to be the key to the apocalypse. So there's a lot of themes of destiny and just trying to take your destiny and into your own hands and live the life that you want to live, even though the pressure of the outside world is just so overwhelming sometimes. So a more subdued take outside of that big Marvel-esque machine is probably the best way to go with this character. I would be lying if I said I wasn't excited. I'm trying to keep my hype in check, but it's really difficult when you love the character as much as I do. I could probably talk about it, like that could be its own video about what I think about this film, because I have a lot to say. But that's not the point of this video. I'm just trying to keep everyone up to date. Hellboy news. I was actually lucky enough to talk a little bit by message with Brian Taylor over on Twitter. If you guys want to sieve through the dumpster fire that is that website, to just get some Hellboy news and chat Hellboy, then I'd love to see you there. I pretty much post every day, and I'm going to be following in real time all the news that comes out about the film and the games and any other projects that end up happening relating to Hellboy. So if that seems like something that interests you, then you are all welcome. So yeah, I got the opportunity to actually talk with Brian Taylor, ask him some questions. I just wanted to know what his relationship with the character was and what kind of an approach he was going to take for the film. Nothing too major, just some general questions to try and get a feel for his vision for this film. And I have to say, not only the fact that he's a fan of the character, which is lucky, like with Guillermo, he will probably be passionate about what it is that they're going to be doing, but it just seems like he's making the right decisions and can make the right calls to be able to make this as faithful an adaptation as possible. So I'm giving this whole thing the benefit of the doubt whilst keeping a very healthy dose of skepticism. And hey, if it's a disaster, we still get in Mike Mignola's Hellboy, Web of Weird, a brand new video game that literally looks like they just took the comic and made it into a video game. It looks phenomenal. And then on top of that, the late and great Lance Reddick is going to be portraying Hellboy in the video game. Rest in peace, Lance. You were such a good actor. I loved him in The Wire. And I'm really excited to see his portrayal of Hellboy. You are sorely missed, and unfortunately it's the best one to leave early. But what I want to know is, what do you guys think about all this? Literally, it's like genuinely, it's so hard to find fans of Hellboy in the real world. So if you have anything to say, if you don't agree, if you do, if you're excited, if you're skeptical, then just write it in the comments. I would love to talk about it with you guys. And yeah, don't hesitate. It will be my pleasure. And thank you for watching. Genuinely, this is the first time I've ever done anything like this. It was nerve-wracking and really hard, a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. I'm hoping to be able to do this as regularly as I can, whenever big news comes out, or kind of like a big bunch up of whatever news I want to talk about. The next thing I would love to talk about is the video game for Web of Weird. I have a lot of thoughts about that, and possibly a video just rambling about the potential of this new movie and all that kind of thing. And if you guys have any suggestions, then don't hesitate. I'd love the inspiration. But that is all to say, have a great day, guys, and read some Hellboy.